All right, kids, welcome back to 608 Fab. This is going to be the start of episode 4. I've been milking this project since I put the order in on Black Friday pretty much, and we're finally making some forward progress. I mean, every video I've made a little progress, but let's show you where we're kicking things off here today. So we left things off, fuel cell mounted, mocked up, and I had the throttle body sitting up there on the motor. Hard to see from this side, but there she is hiding in there. A little rat's nest of wiring. And really my next step is to route some fuel lines, and let me show you where I'm at. So when I bought this ACES kit, I mentioned in the last video, I bought their PTFE fuel line and fitting kit. That came with a pretty good arsenal of fittings. However, it didn't come with a couple of the fittings that I needed. So I needed a 45, a 45, and a 90. So I went online. I was going to actually grab these from the local chassis shop, but I struggle to get over there when they're open. So these 90s here are Evil Energy. So I know they're like the cheap Charlie version out there, but I've got extras. So they came in pairs when I grabbed them off Amazon. One of the things I will say, you know, and I see a lot of short hoses like this guy here. Come on, baby. There we go. So that hose is literally, I want to say 3.5 inches. So when you're making that hose, you can push the jacket of the hose off of the plastic liner. So I made a mistake on the first one. Not really a mistake, but just threw away 3.5 inches of line. Big deal. They gave me a bunch. But let me try and get over here and kind of explain it. Well, we'll just go over to the bench. So when you cut this hose, this braided liner on their jacket is loose from the liner on the inside. So if you cut it and then you cut it again here, as you're putting this one together, you like push this jacket off. So what I ended up doing is build the one end so that the jacket is clamped to the fitting, to everything, and then cut the other side. And when you're pushing all of those connector pieces together, you're just shoving the jacket into the other connector, and you're not shoving it off the damn hose. So there's a quick little tip for making short stubby lines. Like I say, do one end, then cut it, then do the other end. So we'll get back to the Jeep. So we got the 90 from Evil Energy, a little hose we made, a 45 from Evil. This is the ACES filter, low pressure filter. Going to another 90 to another short hose. I guess I could have used this short hose to explain it, but yeah, build this end, cut the hose over here, then build this end. Don't cut the chunk of line and then try and build it. Pain in the ass. There's probably a way to do it. I don't know what it is, and that sucked. So then I've got this guy mounted. This is drilled and tapped into the frame rail. This one is just nutted underneath it. It'll end up with some washers and nicer hardware. And then, so this is all -8 line. Then when you come out of the high pressure side, it's -6. So I smoked a nice oval hole here in the aluminum floor pan in the bed of this thing, and I'm gonna run the lines down that hole and along the frame rail. I batted back and forth, talked to a local racer, road race guy, and they run their lines inside the cabin. Different sanctioning bodies will allow that and disallow that or disapprove of it. Certain sanctioning bodies, they got to be jacketed inside a tube if they're in the passenger driver compartment. He's wadded up enough cars road racing, and he runs all his lines inside. His sanctioning body doesn't require anything with an additional jacket on it, and he's never had a line rupture or anything like that. And he's taken some pretty hard hits. Pros and cons of that. So in my application, the pro of running it inside the driver passenger compartment above the floor pans is it'll never get crushed by a rock. If I spit a drive shaft out of it, that line would never stand a chance of getting damaged by a yoke or a shaft come slinging around. Tree branches, root balls, all the garbage that will get tied up into. Obviously, I've got it tucked up tight to the floor, but anything can happen under there, especially when a shaft grenades itself. So that was the pro to put it in the driver passenger compartment. The con to that is I don't have a very well thought out driver passenger compartment. I don't have like a transmission tunnel or a center console or really anything yet to route that line through. And I don't think I'm going to get that done yet this year. I really wanted to build a center console, move my shifters around, all that stuff. Finances aren't there to buy new shifters, and honestly, the time isn't there either. So, I mean, it's February 1st today, and our first trip is at the end of April. So, I got to get this thing running, tuned, etc., blah, blah, blah. So, I'm just going back under the chassis, following my old fuel line routing. I'm going to add some extra protection in there in certain areas where it passes through too close to other chassis components. I'm wrapping additional hose, just using, I want to say this was like 3/4 heater hose, just to give it an extra barrier. I had this running through a suspension bracket, and after 2 years of being in there, I don't have any wear on it at all. So I'm good with that, even if I gotta go through once in a while and change that out. Big deal. So let's make the first high pressure line and route it along the chassis. So you cut the stuff with a grinder, and then there's black schmutz in there. So you feed your straw up, give that a rinse, get all that black schmutz out of there. I'm sure there's a better way to wash the inside of that cable out, or hose, excuse me, hose. But that's what I've been doing. I've had good luck with that. And then I've been taking a pair of side cutters and flush cuts and just trimming the little bits of stainless wire off. So these are sucking. I wonder what I used these on in the last week or two. This is the pair my wife got a hold of. The $50 pair of Matco flush cuts. And I don't know what she used them for, but I found them in her possession, and they're junk now. So, well, we'll move on here a little bit, but you just pretty much force this guy over the jacket. There's plenty of videos on this out there, so if you want to fast forward through this, there's probably somebody way smarter than me at this that does a way better job of explaining it. But you'd shove that on, And then this ferrule goes on. That goes on just over the PTF liner. They give you this cool tool. Fits inside everything. Oop. It's double-ended. So you flip that out. You got -8 on one side, -6 on the other. I don't know. I don't think I'm smart enough to understand how to use this thing, but it kind of shoves things on, and then I've honestly just been taking the end of it and using it like a damn hammer. Make sure that's all flushed up on the end of that thing. Totally the wrong way. I know it. But then this guy gets shoved in. Oh, yeah. Open that up just a little bit. If that fits, this should fit. That's what I got out of the instructions and other videos online. Get the leg up here, shove, shove, twist, shove, feel like an idiot because now I'm actually recording it. And there we go. And that's the first one that really fought me. So then you got all these furs sticking out. Biggest thing you want to make sure is when you put the ferrule over the ferrule, I don't know what piece is what here, you thread it past, because you don't want to get any of those stainless wires married into these threads, because they will become part of the threads, and that stainless is stronger than the aluminum fitting, so thus you end up with junk. Snug this up. There's a little air gap between the two barrels, or two nuts, and that puppy's put together. So the next thing I'm going to do is this thing is got to get routed through the frame and the under chassis. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to wrap it all up in painter's tape, cap over the end, run over the end again, smush it all in, run over the end again, tape that thing up. Then I'm going to go to the other side of this line as well and do the same thing. So as I'm dragging this thing around on the floor or bouncing it through the different frame routing, I'm not going to pack this thing here full of dirt and debris, which is going to be the end all of one of the injectors or something. All right, so I've got that line routed down under the frame. I'll show you a little bit more in another clip on that, what I've got going on in there. I need some more P-clamps, I need some more hose protectors. I'm gonna do a little nicer job, of course, this time, because hopefully it's the permanent fuel system for it. Well, guaranteed it's gonna be the permanent lines. If something happens with the aces and we go to a Holly Sniper or something like that, which I sure as hell hope we don't, you know, all the lines will get reused. So I'm gonna do a bang up job on that. Let me show you where I'm gonna leave off today. So time to go over to a buddy's shop and look at some stuff he's got going on a suspension on a custom truck he's building. But I have got the lines made to the Aces throttle body now, and those come up to the regulator. So this here is the line. We'll start at the back. What the hell, I'll show you how we did this all. So punched my oval hole down through there. That's going to be the feed line. Return line is going to come up through the same hole. That'll all get wrapped or edge protected, but none of it can move and get close, but we'll throw something in there just to make it pretty at least. Then that stuff comes down underneath here. Let me grab a light, show you what this looks like. Oh Lord, I'm getting too old for this. 1932 creeper from, I think it's Montgomery Ward still. So that line's coming down under here. P-clamps to the frame rail. Goes through a suspension bracket here. which that is going to get, that's where that radiator hose was on it previously. I got to manipulate that line just a little bit to get it away from that link. More P-clamps, zip ties, etc. And then just lays up. So that's a skid plate mount right there, those two tabs. It's above the skid plate. And more skid plate tabs, stays above the skid plate there. Gets a little close to the front drive shaft here. We could make a contact if we ever spit the front of the drive shaft out. So I think I'll make some sort of shield for that, because that's also got my trans cooler lines running. Then the line runs up a little further. It is not, oh, it is touching that now. I got to manipulate that line just a little bit, which is also why I didn't mount the high pressure fuel filter 100%. So I can just drop that down or make a P-clamp off of that just to keep it away from this edge of the body. So then that guy comes up. All right, time to get up again. Oh, I think, yeah, Montgomery Ward. That is vintage right there. Still rolling though. So that's where this line comes up at then. High pressure filter, another 90 coming across, feeding it into the back of the throttle body, comes out of the front side of the throttle body. You can run that either direction. That's just the direction I chose. Then that goes to the regulator, and I've got to make this hose to plumb back to the tank. That'll run parallel with that other line, the feed line, come up that hose, and I've got to drill a hole in the tank, probably in this corner. I haven't decided yet. I got to do a little research on that. This here is a vent, and when I bought this, I ordered this bright blue piece, which is their high flow return. So it's a -8 fitting. We've got -6 fittings coming on our high pressure return or regulated return. So I've got to get an adapter down to that. Probably another 90 coming up off of that, and marry that line in there somehow. Then it's just, at that point, I'm going to strip everything back out. And now that I know where everything's going to be, I'm going to build my skid plate here on the bottom, tab that all in. And then I'm going to come up and build another bar from the top of the shock hoop, wrapping around the back side, kind of matching this one here on the bottom. Land it on that shock hoop there, brace it all in so when I back into trees, because I'm really good at backing into trees, I don't crush the fuel cell. I got to get a spot for my license plate, my tail lights, and I might even put a backup light on it, but I don't have a switch on my shifter. So probably just brake lights, tail lights, turn signals again. So as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And in the meantime, do something cool in your garage.